Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Jerome Gutanco, hybrid cloud specialist here at Red Hat APAC here in the Philippines. Okay, thanks so much for joining today, despite the challenges that we're facing today, for a day of learning and sharing. Okay, I also want to take the opportunity to thank VST, ECS, and the other organizers of this event, along with the sponsors and the partners here, for inviting Red Hat for this sharing session. So today, we'll discuss about the open hybrid cloud. This is basically Red Hat's point of view on how hybrid and multi-cloud environments are designed, very important, deployed and managed with open source technologies, okay, as the core of an enterprise delivery paradigm. We'll talk about the current trends for containerized workloads. Walter did a good overview of how containers work. Okay. Multi-cloud management, what is Red Hat's point of view on this one? And how we can proactively secure, which is really, really important, right? I mean, it's okay to deploy something, but how do we proactively secure our workloads against a lot of threats, in both internal, external, and what Red Hat can offer. Okay, again, we're an open source company. We focus on the enterprise, and we can provide this journey as well for the open hybrid cloud. So please enjoy, at least raise questions, and I'll look at them later today. Okay, so let's start. So what is actually happening in the world today, and what are the functions that are driving your IT strategies and tactics? So there are two things that top of mind when you think about meeting your goals. Because of the effect of the pandemic and the businesses, I mean, is this one of the forces? What about the political climates? What is happening today? What about next year? And even your locations. Are your customers and consumers demanding more from the business to be fully digital and accelerating the need to transform faster than expected? So we're close to 2 years already in this kind of situation in the globe. And the need to transform is already obvious, right? It's getting faster every day. I mean, the days come by so fast and things like that. We barely realize that time just passes by, right? But with every industry, including where you are currently, is also experiencing these strong forcing functions that are impacting both the goals and execution of your projects, right? And to simply put, the world basically demands you as IT leaders, delivery people, administrators, and things like that to deliver these services to the customers and end users. So speed, scale, and stability. And previously, you were probably okay with just either one or two of them, right? But today, because of all these external factors affecting us, we basically need to do all three now. Okay. And we believe at Red Hat that open hybrid cloud approach can help you achieve a lot of these. Okay. So Red Hat has this vision of the open hybrid cloud for for close to 7 years already since Red Hat started doing open source. We recommend this strategy for architecting, developing, and operating a hybrid mix of applications, delivering them on a very flexible cloud experience with the speed, stability, and scale required for the transformation. The specific products and consulting, which we'll discuss later on, we'll first discuss about concepts, are not one size fits all, but they do share common technological foundation on the Red Hat perspective. And that is what we call Red Hat Enterprise Linux and the container platform based on Kubernetes called Red Hat OpenShift. Okay. And these components of the hybrid cloud, of hybrid cloud, involves the following. The platforms where you run your applications, regardless if you're traditional, new, or cloud native, from anywhere, from data center to public cloud and to the edge. Okay. The development tools. Applications start with development. Okay. How do you rapidly build these applications? Okay. How do you integrate them? How do you make them be continuously deployed. And after deploying, how do you actually manage that? Okay. What are the tools that enable you to automate a lot of these processes? These are things that are really complex to do manually. Okay. And with automation, you can do that in management. And to a certain degree, you might also be thinking, you know what? Our organization doesn't have the expertise of this one. We let Red Hat, a company like Red Hat, or a company like DST ECS, manage it for us because we know that they are the leaders of this domain. They have the expertise. They have deep expertise in doing so. Those are managed services, right? And of course, we always need constant training and development. Okay, for us, our people, to continue learning. Okay, and finally, without applications, both developed in-house and with partners like ISVs are really important. So what about the partner ecosystem? What are the applications that we can run on this cloud environment? Okay. So this is basically what the Open Hybrid Cloud is all about. It is open. We call it open because it is based on open source software. And Red Hat made it enterprise ready. So you have access to stable, secure, community-based innovation. Okay? You are not locked in. There are no proprietary components at all on this one. Given that it is open source, that means it complies and aligned with open standards of what the industry basically is using at the moment. Okay. And at the same time, all these components are connected via open APIs for flexible integration. Open APIs allow you to be future-proof. Okay. So this is a great way to look into a strategy. Does it have to be everything with Red Hat? Not really. Okay. Because of its pluggable nature, you can actually mix and match. You may have existing investments already in one of these areas, and then you can complement it with an enterprise open source solution and perhaps delivered by Red Hat. And this is basically how it looks like on a portfolio perspective. So the ultimate outcome for this strategy is that you are able to run and manage applications anywhere, which can help you achieve the scale that you are looking for, okay, especially today. With the foundations that we provided, or we've created with Red Hat Enterprise Linux or RHEL, and the application platform capabilities of Kubernetes through Red Hat OpenShift, we now layer this into other solutions by Red Hat that complement and enhance that experience. For example, the management portfolio, which we have with Ansible, okay, the cluster management, where you can actually manage Kubernetes across both public and private clouds, or even on-prem. And then even to a point of security, how do you secure these containerization workloads? Okay, then you can do it cut across any cloud environment or even bare metal. In addition, we also do a couple of what we call managed services, which Red Hat fully operates for you on your behalf. Okay. And this strategy actually started with open source, and Red Hat is essentially the top dog in this one. Well, they say we're a leader on this open space, right? But we've been doing open source from the very beginning. I mean, we've been an open source company at the very start. Me, prior to joining Red Hat, I was with a couple of companies, some of them proprietary, some of them are not, right? But Red Hat has always been open to the core, okay? And we basically participate this innovation with the community. So what does Red Hat do as a business? We basically participate to these open source projects, either as the leader of a particular project, for example, in the case of Linux, or for example, as a participant, like in the case of, let's say, Kubernetes, which is originally a Google project that was released open source. Red Hat is currently the second largest contributor to Kubernetes code. And what we do as an organization is that we integrate this to an enterprise mindset, meaning we work with, we call it upstream or the community versions. And then we ensure that this code created by the community becomes enterprise ready. We vet, we validate, we stabilize, we secure, and then eventually we support. That's why this innovation works very well because it worked quite successfully with Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Okay, so we participate in these communities. For example, like Quay for the container registry, AWX for automation, which is at least on the Red Hat view, it's called Ansible Automation Platform, and then OKD, the OpenShift Kubernetes distribution, which is the open source version or the community version of Red Hat OpenShift. Okay, so essentially the code is open. We commercialize it by integrating, we stabilize, and we secure. So that's why Red Hat solutions have the most, probably the longest support structure in majority of the vendors out there. Okay. And we've seen this innovation engine start with Linux. Okay, a lot of this started with Linux. For example, what you see in public cloud today in Amazon, in Google, in Microsoft, all stem from the innovations made by Linux. Okay, Red Hat was there. Containerization is not a new topic anymore. It is actually the norm. Every delivery of Red Hat in Linux gives you the tools to do containerization. So containers are essentially Linux. Okay. A lot of people back then moved to open source and Linux because they wanted security. They know that the community vets these things already. So defense in depth started with Linux as well. Okay. And even to the point of automation, this is regardless of what you're currently using. You might be currently using proprietary solutions, Unix solutions, Windows solutions, etc. And these can be automated. And a lot of these automation tools started with Linux. Okay. So first innovation that we did, at least aside from Red Hat Enterprise Linux, is Kubernetes. Okay. In the container front, Red Hat OpenShift is basically our certified Kubernetes platform. And it is actually beyond Kubernetes. When you talk to developers or admins or even vendors about containerization, they will tell you about Kubernetes. Kubernetes is great. It's a great open source project. It's the foundation of pretty much everything that containers today. But to do Kubernetes alone is not enough. Okay, you need to integrate it properly. And this is what we did with OpenShift. Okay, so we delivered the best of what Kubernetes has. I mean, the Creo engine, the Helm platform, and things like that, and made it enterprise ready. But we also added things beyond Kubernetes. For example, the cluster services, including networking, routing, and virtual machine management. You can run a virtual machine inside Kubernetes now, okay, especially if you deploy it on-prem. This is something that is a hidden gem of what you can do with containerization at the moment. The metrics, the logging, the chargeback systems, okay, these are actually part of OpenShift now. And beyond that, we also added automated operations in managing Kubernetes via what we call the operators technology. So all the ISVs, all the platforms, all the solutions that you will deploy in OpenShift become what we call operators. Operators are essentially support systems that allow the other applications deployed in a container to be running as well. Okay. We also added over-the-air updates for the platform, overall platform. Okay. So it's a very highly automated platform at the moment. and this actually can be deployed and delivered regardless of where you are. Be it your on-prem service servers, bare metal, virtual machines, public cloud. We work with all the public cloud providers as direct partners. Even to the edge, we have edge solutions as well based on OpenShift. And we actually automate this portion. Okay, so by helping IT ops and developers shift from an infrastructure focus to an application delivery mindset, or basically DevOps or DevSecOps. This actually elevates the way you start thinking, planning, deploying, testing, and even putting into production how application should be. Okay, this is the only way to do delivery properly. Okay, so if you're hearing terms like DevOps, DevSecOps, GitOps, CI/CD, and things like that, containerization with Kubernetes and perhaps supported by OpenShift or other Kubernetes distributions out there allows you to do this cycle, okay, this automation of the application delivery. And this is how we actually did it with OpenShift, because we know that this can be delivered anywhere. We basically work with all these partners to give you the best of both what an open source distribution like Kubernetes would provide, as well as the flexibility of what you currently invested in. So for example, they are either delivered jointly by our partners like Amazon, Microsoft, and even IBM. Red Hat is an IBM company. We work with them, okay, but we also work with them as a partner. Okay, for example, IBM has Red Hat OpenShift on IBM Cloud. Amazon has Red Hat OpenShift service on AWS, or we call it ROSA, and then Azure Red Hat OpenShift for Microsoft. These are first-party solutions that you can actually consume as part of your existing contracts with these cloud providers at the moment. Or you can actually do it the other way, is that let Red Hat manage it to your cloud environment, or you fully manage it with your equipment, your infrastructure. So we're cut across. We're ready to serve this innovation anywhere. And because of these innovations that we've infused, we're actually at the top, okay, in this environment, okay? So this is about multi-cloud container development platforms, right? Multi-cloud is the reality. It is something that you do every day. You might not be aware of. And Red Hat has been doing this for quite some time, okay? So doing this, so for example, in the case of multi-cloud, um, when you move to a hybrid cloud infrastructure or a multi-cloud infrastructure, Red Hat can provide you this consistency, okay, this vision, this long-term vision on how you can do it, okay, because we provide you, number one, not just open source, okay, we provide you the access to the code and everything. We basically provide you and give you access to the best of what a developer requires to build this innovation, okay, meaning you can deploy it anywhere. And this open hybrid cloud with a distribution allows you to give this consistency, not just to your application environment, but also to the way that you do business, okay? But we just started with a hybrid cloud environment, okay? It should not stop there. The second thing that you need to think about the hybrid cloud environment is essentially, how do you secure it properly, okay? Now that's great to have a choice, okay? But the platform needs to be fully secure and compliant before you can actually do business with your customers. We work a lot with highly regulated industries, and this has always been the top of mind question, okay? This is key to selecting the platform as well. And doing hybrid and multi-cloud is great, but it is challenging. So this is a survey by IDC that says that, yes, we are using multi-cloud infrastructure to reduce costs, okay? But we have challenges. Number one, it is difficult and error prone to manage at scale. Imagine learning 2, 3, 4 platforms at the same time, okay? Different technologies mean different configurations, and different configurations can also result in inconsistency across the security controls. And obviously, it could be overwhelming if you don't have enough people or skills to do this. What is Red Hat point of view on this one? Okay, so this is an IDC study. When we say it at the start, you should treat security as continuous and holistic, not just in the deployment phase, but even during the design and build phase. Okay, it is a cycle. It's a cycle of improvement. Okay, it cannot be a linear fashion. This philosophy can also be applied not just to security, but to other areas of your operation. Okay, so this is where Red Hat comes in. Okay, at least on how we do security, at least on a high-level point of view, because it is open source. We secure it. We make it built in. At the same time, we have training. But on a portfolio point of view, we basically have thought of this security paradigm across the platform already throughout the stack and life cycle. So by carefully reviewing the code, by validating them and certifying them, all the solutions are applied at least on a security perspective. Okay. And this actually comes into what we call the defense in depth provided by management and automation solutions in Red Hat. For example, the ones on the left, the Ansible platform for automating the cluster management, the Red Hat Insights and Satellite are tools that allow you to gain insights of how you are running your open source platforms, okay, with Red Hat. Okay, so these are ones on the management side. Up and down the stack, the security is paramount. Okay, and this is actually part of what we call DevSecOps mindset. You've heard of DevOps, but this is part of what we call the shift left mindset or shift left security, which we call DevSecOps today. Meaning, when you start designing, building, and deploying your applications, security comes during that phase to the left rather than after the deployment, which is to the right. Okay. So even in the phase of building your solutions, for example, automated builds, we already provided the tools. For example, the CI/CD portion with Jenkins, Tecton, and then OWASP dependencies and things like that. A lot of it are aligned with security. OpenSCAP is something that you should look at when deploying these tools as well. Okay. On a container platform perspective and hybrid cloud, what we did was actually now you're running, let's say you're running multiple containers or Kubernetes clusters. How do you manage them all together? You don't have to secure each and every cluster, right? We basically added another layer to manage these across. So you have that consistent environment across regardless. Okay. I mean, cluster one could be OpenShift, cluster N could be Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service, okay, or Azure Kubernetes service, or things like that. Basically, we allow Red Hat tools to manage them all together, okay, and it provides that consistent experience for security and compliance. These are just some of the screenshots of what we do. As you can see on one of the screenshots, we can do multi-cluster management regardless of what cloud you're running on. So the governance, the perspective of how it operates, what we call the observability, and the overall life cycle of deploying and managing these containers, what we call pods, are deployed through this, what we call cluster management solutions. This is how it looks like on a screenshot point of view, meaning you can run OpenShift regardless of the cloud. This is our view of how we manage them all together on a hybrid cloud perspective. Now, let's talk about security itself. Okay, so that was the management portion. Let's talk about the security. So I talked about shift left. For example, right now there's a concept called secure supply chain. Since a lot of our solutions now are built on open source, you have to understand where that source code comes from, or at least have a sense of validation that this code that is open is secure. Okay, so we created what we call a shift left mindset into this product and created products and portfolio solutions that are built on top of Kubernetes to do that. Okay, we basically maintain what we call a CSPM or Cloud Security Posture Management across the cloud environments that we have by providing secure infrastructure. Okay, so these are all Kubernetes driven. And we call this solution Red Hat Advanced Cluster Security, which used to be called StackRack Security. Okay, what it does basically is that it protects these vital applications across the build, deploy, and runtime. Meaning, security doesn't happen in the run phase; it happens even during the build phase, the time that you are designing the product and even deploying it. And it will integrate into the tools that you currently have. For example, like the CI/CD tools, the registries, the image scanning, or the DevOps notification. For example, if your team uses Slack, Jira, Microsoft Teams, and things like that. So it integrates well. This is shift left mindset. Okay. And by doing so, this platform already has the built-in controls to enforce the security for DevOps, the best practices, the industry security standards, such as the CIS benchmark, the NIST guidelines, and the configuration management. And this is essentially part of OpenShift portfolio. Okay, uh, this is not meant to replace a security platform to secure, for example, virtual machines. This is for cloud native containerized workloads. And this is how we do it, basically. Okay, on a portfolio perspective, this is basically a security map of what a typical container platform should be secured. How do you control, protect, and detect? Okay. And on a portfolio perspective, we have addressed this with some solutions that are provided by Red Hat as open source. Okay. OpenShift is the main driver of workloads for driving deployments, right? And you have tools like Red Hat Advanced Cluster Management or ECM, and then Advanced Cluster Security or RACS to address the security portion. Okay. So we address hybrid management and security. How do you piece them together? What is the glue that drives them? This is called automation now. So on the automate portion, how do you do automation across the hybrid cloud? Okay, because automation ensures that you are able to reinforce your security and compliance posture. Okay, what's important is that you have to be consistent in the organization, meaning across applications, infrastructure, and security, you talk the same language, right? And by doing so, okay, we created what we call Ansible as a solution for automation. And basically, these automation scripts, we call them playbooks, are actually deployed, created and deployed and executed from development of the application to production. Okay, that means cut across, shift left, or going to the right. Okay, meaning automation is not something that you do after. Okay, in the ideal world, you use a common language to do so, and automate and Ansible automation actually allows that to do so. In fact, in the world of automation, this is how it should look like if you have a general architecture. For example, you have an architecture for your infrastructure at the bottom, and then you have your middleware layer, and then you have your containerized layer. Then at the top, you have your application deployment layer, right? This IT automation should be single, meaning one language, okay? The vertical column. And this is a typical life cycle for automating the security and management. This may be handled by different tools, different scripts, and things like that. But as consistent automation language will ensure that this will be consistent and operational, and you always have a feedback loop to do so. Okay, so automation and analytics are key to understand your current coverage and security. So this is an example of how we do it with Ansible. Okay, so Ansible is essentially our automation management platform, which runs alongside Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Red Hat OpenShift, and other Red Hat tools, basically. Okay, and it connects not just to Red Hat solutions, but to pretty much anything that you currently have in your data center, okay, or in your cloud or what. It is API driven. To do that simply, basically, what we did on the network space, we're expanding Ansible's footprint on this one. Okay. I have a couple of more slides, but I'm also at the tail end of this one. So going back, we automate it this way. And to wrap it up, basically, we do a summary. This journey, basically, this is a journey. Okay. And Red Hat Solutions, open source in general, provide you this consistent vision on how to do it, right? So we also have what we call services that allow you to work with us for this one directly. And we invite you to do an initial discovery engagement And we follow it with incremental improvements, okay, so for each phase. This is not a big bang approach. We improve over time, right? We prepare, we build a pilot, we create what we call an MVP, and then we integrate them all together to your existing solutions. And then we improve the cycle of innovation, okay? And we've been doing that with what we call our innovation labs team, okay? These are a team of experts that basically provide guidance on how to build this architecture moving forward. And we've been doing it with a lot of customers. For example, just in APAC alone, we've worked with companies like Send Money, Cathay Pacific, Macquarie Bank, and even in the Philippines, we've worked with companies like Asian Development Bank, who is doing an automation journey with us. Okay, so this is something of a journey that you will have to look at, especially if you are doing a lot of open source in your environment. And deploying an open hybrid cloud gives you confidence because when you work it with Red Hat, you're pretty much on good hands by providing at least that are developed securely because we know open source from the ground up. We know what we're talking about. Okay, and the innovations that open source provides, we can provide it to you, and you may have your own ideas as well on how to further innovate the code. Red Hat can help make that code a reality as well. Okay. So to wrap it up, given your goals for hybrid cloud, you may have many questions now. I look into the Q&A later. Okay, where do you think it fits into your goals, right? I mean, are you looking to innovate applications faster? Do you want a more stable architecture moving forward? Do you have challenges in automating or even managing? A hybrid cloud solution doesn't just start with going to containers. It could be first automating it. It could be doing a migration, and there are many avenues to do so. That's why I invite you to have a conversation with Red Hat and DST ECS where we can help you out on these goals that you would like to achieve. Again, this is the end of my presentation. So on behalf of the Red Hat team, thanks for the time, and I hope this session has helped, okay, to jumpstart the organization's journey for a hybrid cloud. So please provide the feedback and reach out as well for any follow-up questions related to this session. Please reach out to the VST team, and you can also reach out to the Red Hat team through our social media channels. Again, my name is Jerome Tatanco. Thanks so much for inviting us here, VST VCS team. And I look forward again to seeing everyone in the future events and hopefully in person. And have a great day ahead. Thank you.